Hey guys, welcome back to the Unfiltered Gamer board game review. Today's game up on the tabletop is called Hive Mind by Calliope Games. Hive Mind is for 3 to 12 players, ages 8 and up, and plays about 30 to 60 minutes. In the game Hive Mind, you're all going to be buzzy little bees, and you're going to be inside a little honeycomb or a beehive. And what you're going to be trying to do is think like-minded. And if you don't, you're going to lose points. And eventually, if you get kicked out of the beehive, you're out, and everybody else is the winner. An interesting backwards take on how points would work. And in the game, you're going to be getting different cards, and on the cards are going to do different things. What are 3 animals most people wouldn't want to touch? And everybody's going to go ahead and write them down on this piece of paper, and you're going to try and score like points with everybody else. So if somebody said scorpion and you said scorpion, that's a like-minded answer, and so you get points for that. And you're trying to get as many possible points in the round as you can by tying with everybody else. However, if you pick something that nobody else picks, you're not going to get any points for that word, and that could end up making you go down into the hive and eventually get kicked out. That's the idea of Hive Mind. Let me show you what it looks like. Alright guys, so here is Hive Mind, and as you can see, it comes with a board, it comes with a timer, a queen bee start position character, as well as a bunch of buzzy bees, and everybody gets to be one of their own little bees. You're also going to be getting these little hive markers here that you're going to go ahead and place down on certain areas to block off passage to make sure that other players are going to be able to catch up throughout the game, so that you don't go too far along down the road without everybody else kind of being in that same, still having the opportunity to go down as level with you. You're going to be getting a bunch of 12 of these little pencils here that say Hive Mind on them, a booklet where you can use to write down your answers, as well as a ton of different cards that both have front and back, as well as 3 questions on each side, so you're going to get plenty of questions in this game. Finally, you'll get a nice box along with the rulebook of the game. So here's Hive Mind, and here's how it works. You set up any player you have up in this top area here with the beehive. You're also going to set the queen bee right here. Then you're going to go ahead and have the player roll a die. That player who rolls the die will then move the queen bee down this track. You're then going to look at the bees here. It could be a bee, it could be 2 bees, or it could be a bee in a honeycomb. The bee simply means the person who thinks the least alike the group is going to be going down a point if they lose. And 2 bees means the two lowest players, so maybe it would be black and red. However, at any point down the line, if there's a tie, both of them would go down. So they both had only 2 correct answers, or 2 like answers, everybody else had 3 or 4, they'd both go down. And in a tie for 2 players, it might even be up to 4 players. So that would be how these guys would work. The honeycomb, however, works the same way as a bee, where the lowest player is going to go down. However, if you actually scored the most questions or like questions, you can actually go up a point if you manage to do so. So after you go ahead and roll the die, move your little queen bee here, and you have everybody has a pencil and a pad of paper here. You're then going to pull out a question from the box here, and this is one of those questions you can choose from. There's 3 of them. If you don't like these 3, you can flip it over, and if you don't like any of the 6, you can actually make up your own question. The first one's going to say, what are 3 birds you might think to see in your yard? So then you're going to go ahead and write down 3 birds you might think to see in your yard. Go ahead and think about it. We'll put a timer up, and after the timer is done, that's as much as you have, as much as time as you're going to have allowed to think of that. So go ahead and think of 3 birds you'd find in your yard. Got it? Okay, good. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you my answers for that. And that's simply, I'm going to show you this right here. Bam. Pigeon, crow, and dove. So everybody who is going to write down these answers, right? And then you're going to compare them. If you put pigeon, you would get a point along with me. If you put crow, you get a point. And if you put dove, you get a point. You can get a total of 3 points in a 2-player game. Obviously, you're going to be playing more. It's a 3-player game plus. So the idea is you're trying to match these as best as you possibly can without knowing. Thinking, what is the most likely word people are going to think of? So even if you might think of a word that'd be in your backyard, maybe it's not going to be what most people think of in their backyard. So that's going to be very important. After you've gone ahead and done that, then you're going to have all the bees here, and these are going to represent each one of their players. Maybe we're playing with these 5 players, right? If red scored the least, he would go down. If all these players scored 4 or higher, and this unfortunately only scored 1 or 2 points, maybe he picked like Blue Jay or something, he'd go down. And then you go to the next player, and he'd simply roll a die, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He'd pick up a new card. Let's go ahead and check it. Take a look at the new one right here. What do we got? What 3 movies with the word star in the title? So 3 movies with the word star in the title. So you're going to have to think of that. Obviously, you might want to make Star Wars, Star Trek, and I don't know, Starship Troopers. Those would be the 3 movies I would think of. And once again, people would go down or people would go up. Maybe these guys tied for last, so they'd go down. And like I said, once they go down to a certain point here throughout the game, if they hit this, if they want to go back down here, instead they would hit this little barrier and it would break, giving them kind of a sparing turn to avoid a sacrificial blow going down to 4 where everybody else is still so super high. After all of these crack, and they go all the way down this board here, the first person outside of the board is going to be the loser, and everybody else who thinks light will win. The last thing to note is as this bee goes around, he's going to turn here, and then he's going to start going around in a circle, and he'll continue to go around in a circle until somebody ends up losing. And obviously, there's going to be more likelihood of people getting losing here, because this one here has 3 bees, so the 3 lowest people, the 2 lowest people, and this one is the honeypot, obviously. And so that's what will happen. It'll just keep going around until somebody exits the hive, and all the rest of the people who are like-minded, hive-minding people will actually win the game. So that is how you play the game Hive Mind. And now a couple caveats is, obviously more than one person can be kicked out at the same time, so if they're at the very bottom rung of the stack, and the hive there, and they're all in, I guess, rank 6 or whatever, and they both got tied for the lowest, they would actually both lose and everybody else would win. And in fact, even all players could technically lose the game if they were all in that last ring, and that means nobody really thought alike. Nevertheless, that's the idea of the game. Using this timer is basically an optional thing to where you can increase or speed up the time in which people are going to write answers, otherwise it'll take a long time. And obviously it comes with a bunch of pads of paper. You're just going to go ahead and give one of these out to every single player throughout the game. So, what do I think about Hive Mind? Well, first of all, it is a party game. It's one of those kind of questionnaire games where people write down answers and match them and compare them and stuff like that. Except in this game, you're trying to think alike. You're not trying to be different. You're not trying to actually answer the questions correctly. It doesn't even matter if you do. You could answer the question incorrectly and still win. What starts with the letter Z, right? And you put, like, I don't know, Quetzalcoatl, which doesn't start with a Z, right? But if everybody else put Quetzalcoatl, it doesn't matter. You still get points. So that makes it really unique and interesting. I like this game a lot. I really enjoy the fact that you're going to be playing this game with a bunch of people, and whether you know them or not, you're going to learn something about them as you play the game. Even just simple things like birds, that you learn what's in their backyard, where they're normally from. Maybe you're playing with somebody out of state, and the birds that they would think of are completely different than what you would think of. Or movies that are really important to you might not be as important to other people. And learning what are the most popular things, the most generalized things are going to entice you to play and get better at the game and better. And the more you play with certain people, probably the better you're going to get. This game has a ton of replayability because there are so many cards in this game. There's hundreds of cards here. This entire thing has 6 cards, 6 choices on each of the cards, and even if you did run out of things, you could still make up your own. And in fact, we did play, as we were playing this game, we did make up our own choices throughout the game because we thought it would be fun, and maybe we didn't want to do the questions, maybe we just wanted to make our own thing. Nevertheless, really, really enjoyable. All the components are really nice and really good. Even all this, like, little bees remind me kind of Dixit. The board kind of gives me that Dixit feel. So if you like the style and the theme of Dixit, instead of bunnies, you're playing as little bees, which is really cool as well. All in all, this game is an excellent party game, and it's something you would definitely know if you'd like based on this little review. Understanding that it is obviously not about how intelligent you are about your questions, but more how like-minded you can be with everybody else. Overall, Hive Mind, excellent game. Definitely recommend it.